Hello everybody, how are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? I hope so. Welcome to English Fluency Center. This is your English teacher, Uwingabiye from Rwanda. And I'm here to teach you English language. Our today's topic is English conjunctions. We are going to look at all the three types of English conjunctions. At the end of this lesson, all the followers will be able to define conjunction and to identify all the three types of conjunctions as well as the use of them and examples that are gonna be given. Let's get started. A conjunction is a word that is used to connect words, phrases, and clauses. There are many conjunctions in the English language, but some common ones include and, or, but, because, for, if, and when. There are three basic types of conjunctions: coordinating, subordinating, and correlative. Because the pop star caught a terrible cold, her upcoming performances in Boston and Chicago were indefinitely postponed. The tour organizers provided neither rescheduled dates nor refunds for the tickets, causing much discontent among the fans. In the examples above, I have identified the conjunctions in color. In this lesson, we are going to identify coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, correlative conjunctions. And then we are going to look at how to start a sentence with a conjunction and other interesting language articles. But today, let us begin by coordinating conjunctions. This type of conjunction is used to connect items that are grammatically equal: two words, two phrases, or two independent clauses. There are 7 coordinating conjunctions in English, and you can remember them using the mnemonic device Fun Boys. Dear students, is this the first time you've heard of the word Fun Boys? Fun Boys stand for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. A conjunction of this type is placed between the items that it links together. Words coordinating conjunctions can join two nouns, verbs, adjectives, or other types of word. The data was gathered through questionnaires and interviews. I don't like to run or swim. I don't like to run or swim. He was clever but lazy. Now, let us look at phrases. They can also join different types of phrases. The dog wagged his tail and panted excitedly. The results were undeniably intriguing, yet ultimately inconclusive. She usually studies in the library or at a cafe. Now, let us look at independent clauses. First of all, we will define the word a clause. Do you know what a clause is? A clause is a group of words that contains at least a subject and a verb. An independent clause can stand on its own as a full sentence, expressing a complete thought. Example: today, Jane Austen is one of the most widely read English novelists, but she achieved little fame during her lifetime. In the sentence above, the coordinating conjunction "but" creates a relationship between two independent clauses. Therefore, you place a comma before "but." Notice that the two clauses also work as sentences on their own. Today, Jane Austen is one of the most widely read English novelists. She achieved little fame during her lifetime. Now, let us look at punctuating, how to punctuate the coordinating conjunctions. When joining two words or phrases with a coordinating conjunction, do not use a comma. For example, in this sentence, data was gathered through questionnaires and interviews. As you can see, there is no comma in this sentence below. Sentence number 2 here, you cannot say she usually studies in the library, put a comma, or at a cafe. She usually studies in the library, comma, or at a cafe. This is incorrect. The correct one is she usually studies in the library or at a cafe. This is the correct sentence. In these examples, the conjunctions joins two words or phrases that are connected to a single verb. Gathered and studies. So you shouldn't place a comma before and. When joining two independent clauses, however, use a comma before the conjunction. For example, here if I say data was gathered through questionnaires and selected respondents participated in interviews. If I don't put a comma here, it doesn't sound correct. Here I can say data was gathered through questionnaires and selected respondents participated in interviews. Another sentence is she usually studies in the library, but when it is too busy, she goes to a cafe. This sentence should sound good if we say she usually studies in the library, but when it is too busy, she goes to a cafe. This sentence here has a comma, but the previous one didn't have a comma. So, better use the second one, which has a comma. In these examples, the clauses before and after the conjunction could both stand as full sentences on their own. So, a comma is required. Now, let us continue with conjunction type number 2. That is subordinating conjunctions. Now, let us look at what it means. This type of conjunction includes words like because, if, although, since, until, and while. A subordinating conjunction is used to introduce a dependent clause. In contrast to an independent clause, a dependent clause, also known as a subordinate clause, is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb but cannot stand as a complete sentence on its own. A dependent clause does not express a complete idea, so it must always be attached to an independent clause. So this sentence, because I woke up late this morning, I went to school without eating breakfast, is incorrect. The correct sentences are because I woke up late this morning, I went to school without eating breakfast. Or I went to school without eating breakfast because I woke up late this morning. As you can see, in the first sentence there is a comma, and the sound is different from the second one. The second one doesn't have a comma, so there are two possibilities. You can either put a comma or leave it or drop it. I woke up late this morning is an independent clause, but the subordinating conjunction because turns it into a dependent clause. Because I woke up late this morning does not finish a complete thought. It must be joined to an independent clause to form a grammatically correct sentence. The subordinating conjunction defines the relationship between the clauses. The table below shows some common subordinating conjunctions and the relationships they express. But note that this is not a complete list. So I have selected important expressions. Let us look at those expressions that express cause and effect. I have selected for you because, since, and as. Those three conjunctions refer to cause and effect. Now let us look at those ones that express time. They are when, before, after, once, until, whenever, since, and while. And let us look at those ones that express place. They are where, wherever. Condition, if, unless, in case. Contrast, although, though, whereas. So let us study punctuating continuating conjunctions. Let us look at how to punctuate the subordinating conjunctions. When a subordinating conjunction follows an independent clause, a comma is often not necessary. In general, when the dependent clause contains essential information about the independent clause, don't use a comma. In this sentence, if we said, she will receive a major bonus if she succeeds in closing the corporate partnership deal. This sounds incorrect. The correct one should be, she will receive a major bonus if she succeeds in closing the corporate partnership deal. The next sentence here, the next sentence is, John's friends snuck into his apartments to set up a surprise party while he was at work. This sentence sounds incorrect. The correct one is, John's friends snuck into his apartment to set up a surprise party while he was at work. There is no comma here. However, when the subordinating conjunction comes at the beginning of the sentence, use a comma at the end of the dependent clause. If she succeeds in closing the corporate partnership deal, she will receive a major bonus. This sentence is incorrect. The correct one here is, if she succeeds in closing the corporate partnership deal, she will receive a major bonus. While John was at work, his friends snuck into his apartment to set up a surprise party. This sentence is incorrect. The correct one is, while John was at work, his friends snuck into his apartment to set up a surprise party. Now, let us look at the last one, the last type of conjunctions, which is correlative conjunctions. This type of conjunction always comes in a pair and is used to join grammatically equal elements in a sentence. Common pairs include either or, neither nor, not only dash dash, but also, and, both dash dash, and. In most cases, no comma should be used between the two elements. Let us look at this example. Her book on the Vietnam War drew not only from interviews with other survivors, but also from her own experiences in the conflict. I have highlighted the correlative conjunctions. Correlative conjunctions must use parallel structure, which means the two elements should take the same grammatical form. Here, if I said she planned to collect data by either using an online survey or phone interviews, this is incorrect. But I should say she planned to collect data by either using an online survey or conducting phone interviews. Now, let us end with starting a sentence with a conjunction. What does happen when you start a sentence with a conjunction? Beginner writers are often taught that sentences should not begin with a continuating conjunction. However, it is not strictly incorrect to begin a sentence with a conjunction, and you may find it used effectively by skilled writers to create emphasis. If I said, governments often seek to gain favor from voters by prioritizing economic development over environmental sustainability, I continue. But at what cost to the planet and future generations? Here you can start by but. While such usage has become acceptable in popular and literary language, it is generally best avoided in academic writing where possible. A subordinating conjunction can come at the start of a sentence, but only if the dependent clause is followed by an independent clause. Here, if I said, until the company reaches a satisfactory agreement with the union, the workers will remain on strike. A dependent clause on its own is known as sentence fragment. How long will this strike go on for? This question will be answered by saying, until the company reaches a satisfactory agreement with the union. Although fragments are often used in speech and informal writing, they should generally be avoided in academic writing. Dear students, dear viewers, if this is your first time at this YouTube channel, don't hesitate to hit the button subscribe and share as well. But not only sharing, but also like and comment. That was your English teacher, Dieu Uwingabiye from Rwanda. Thanks for following us. Teaching you at English Fluency Center. Bye-bye for now.